Bismillah, and welcome back to the Emerald Wellbeing and Coffee Lounge. I'm your host, Sister Shagufta, and I'm a qualified nurse, health mentor, and your guide on the journey to healing. You're listening to Healthy Ever After, Healing After Hardship, and I'm also grateful that you have joined me. This episode 3, is about something so deep, so powerful, and it may just be the key to unlocking the health and peace that you've been searching for. So I'm going to be blunt. This episode is not for those looking for fluffy, easy answers. And if you're ready for the truth, for real talk on what really holds you back, then listen closely. I'm also going to explain something. My podcasts, they are real and raw. So you may hear me turning my pages of my book or drinking my coffee and hear the sound. I'm going to say Bismillah and actually have a sip right now. Bismillah. Because it's good to be raw and authentic, and I hope you've got your drink with you as well, inshallah, your coffee or another drink, maybe tea or something cooler for the warm weather maybe. But I have to have my coffee anyway. So, unhealed, unwell, why holding on makes you sick. That's the episode today. I want to explain that you might not be sick because of the food alone. You may not be tired because of stress alone. You may be holding on to something that your body no longer wants to carry, and until you release it, healing may stay out of reach. This episode is about forgiveness and the way it silently lodges itself into your biology, your nervous system, your gut, your womb, and begins to break you down until you let go. Okay? So we have to be real. Unforgiveness is making you sick as well. So today, out of every other things and other reasons why you might be sick, one of the reasons, and it's quite major, is unforgiveness. All right. And I'm going to try and break it down for you, inshallah. Okay. So please bear with me. Sisters, let me be straight with you. One of the biggest reasons we stay stuck in illness is because we haven't forgiven. And I don't just mean I forgive you by saying that, by saying I forgive you. I actually mean when you truly, deeply let go from the inside, when you hold on to anger, betrayal, heartbreak, pain, or shame, basically your body holds to it too. And what happens? Well, let's explain this. The emotion starts to rot inside of you. So any of those betrayals, if you're holding on to the betrayal you had, the heartbreak you had, the pain you had, or the shame you've had growing up, or anger inside of you, it will show up. For example, pain in your back, and that would be because you're carrying the burdens that were never yours. Thyroid issues because your voice has been silenced for too long, perhaps. Womb issues because you're holding on to betrayal, maybe shame or guilt. Digestive problems because there's fear and stress that's actually eating you alive. Migraines because your thoughts and rage have no outlet. Sis, your illness is not random. Your body is screaming what your heart has been trying to hide. Now, some of us are sick because we're holding on to what was done to us, to what we never said, to the heartbreak we pretend we're over. And I say this with love, actually. You cannot heal when you're full of poison inside. And I'll say that again. You cannot heal when you're full of poison inside. And that poison is often unforgiveness. What is unforgiveness doing to your body? Again, I'm going to break it down even further. When you hold onto pain, your nervous system stays in that fight or flight mode. Your cortisol and adrenaline levels, they stay elevated, and this stresses your immune system. It disrupts your digestive system. You start having hormonal imbalances. Your organs begin to function on the survival level. And you may have heard the phrase, forgive but I don't forget, or I forgive and I never forget, all right? But I want to ask, do you really forgive? Or do you store it in your womb, or your liver, or your back, or your chest? Now, I will explain this because if you think, I don't know, how do I understand? Or you may be thinking, Shugufta doesn't understand maybe. I do, because there are so many things that have happened in my life as well where I I was in that position where I thought I forgave. And it's not necessarily you're saying to the person, I forgive you, or you forgive the situation that you were in. So you forgive yourself first and foremost. That's the most important thing. And you let that issue go. And for example, if some of you were married and then you were betrayed, or whether you're married to a narcissist or an abuser or anything of the sort, and your husband hurts you, caused you pain, was cheating perhaps, and betrayed you, and you said, I forgive but I don't forget. That's not true forgiving, because until you let it go, and how you know you've let go is that when you ever have memory of that person, it doesn't actually cause any symptoms in your body. As in, if it's still causing you high heart rate, you've got breathing problems, or you start having panic attacks, or you start sweating, or you might have PTSD, and that means you haven't gotten over it. So that's where you need healing, and you will need professional help for that as well. And the two can go together. You can have healing done with somebody who's reputable, inshallah, and you can also have PTSD professional help for post traumatic stress disorder. That is, some of you will need proper professional help, and ensure that you gain help with the right people for that, because that's really important. So if you want to move forward with your life, you have to learn to do this, because I thought I forgave and I didn't. I was still having further health problems, whatever, and things like that. And I started to listen to Dr. Mona Al-Idrisi, who's the author of The Muslim Narcissist. And actually, a lot of the things she says make sense, especially when talking about risk and how some people come into your life to actually be a lesson for you. So when you change your perspectives, it actually changes your life and your mindset and your heart. Once that changes, then you become a different person. You'll feel different, you'll look different, and your outlook on life will be different, and you'll have a goal in mind. So that is why I'm doing these podcasts, to make sure that you actually get healing and not stay stuck. And this topic, this is so huge. Trauma and things like that, inner childhood healing, all of this, it's huge. That's why I'm going to break it down, inshallah, every week, and talk about different areas, so you understand what exactly is going on and why it's important to move forward and not stay where you are, because the body likes familiar situations, so it will try to fight and resist you getting the healing done. And that's why you need to ensure that you are surrounded by people who are uplifting, people who direct you in the path of haqq and towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and give you hope and make you think that there is hope. Always there's hope, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a way. You need to get and hang around with people like that, basically. So let me remind you again, where people have said, I forgive but I don't forget. Ask yourself, do you really forgive? Or again, is it stored in your womb, your liver, your back, or your chest? Now, the body always remembers what the mind wants to forget. In fact, emotional health experts do believe that almost every physical condition is tied to some form of emotional conflict or suppression. Now, many people believe that the root of most diseases comes from a lack of forgiveness, whether towards others or towards yourself, or even resentment towards qadr, that's destiny. Now, people who have healed chronic illness, fatigue, migraines, reproductive issues, even autoimmune disease, often report that their journey truly began when they released that bitterness, their shame, their guilt, the anger. And subhanAllah, this is, I will put my hands up to this, it's 100%, fact, or if I'm allowed to say that, or at 99.9%, this was true for me and the people that I have worked with, as in I've been coached and I have coached as well. This is true. And here's how the emotions impact different parts of the body. Chronic resentment, right? That actually affects your liver and leading to detox and hormone issues. Repressed grief, this affects your lungs, it weakens your breathing, your immunity, and also your energy. All right, it makes you feel just very tired and fatigued and out of breath when you've just done a few steps, even though you don't have a health condition attached to you, but because you're holding on to grief and you haven't had healing for this, counseling for this. You may not even be aware, but you've been holding on to something that could have even happened 20 years ago. And hopefully, by listening to this, inshallah, it will awaken you to go and get that help that you need and realize that you don't need to hold on to something to live your life as a Muslim. You can, it doesn't, a lot of people hold on to things because they feel guilty. It all comes into kind of a vicious cycle, because if you let go, somehow if it was a loss you had, as in you could have, I'll give you my own example. I've never shared this, but I have had baby loss many, many years ago, and he was my son, born early actually, but he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if I held on to that grief still now, I would probably not be doing so well. But I had people who were very strong, who were on the deen, who told me that to say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, to Allah we belong, to Allah is our return, and that, he is with Ibrahim alayhi salam in Jannah. And I was taught all of these things, and I knew that it's qadar Allah and have sabr, all of these things. But I had like a strong person with me, and yeah, it was actually my brother, and may Allah bless him. So subhanallah, you have to have good people around you to remind you. But there are some people who I've spoke to, they have said that if they let go of that grief, they somehow are forgetting their baby loss, or the loss of their child, so they want to hold on to it, otherwise they feel guilty. So this isn't the way a Muslim works or has to be. This isn't the right way, but unfortunately these women haven't been taught the right things, and I would say many of us haven't been taught the right way. We didn't know about healing and things like that. I didn't certainly know about that growing up, but alhamdulillah, when Allah blesses us with guidance, then we get taught. And once we know something and we have that authority to teach and help and support others, then we should do it. And this is why I'm doing my work, subhanAllah, so that you can see that by forgiving yourself or letting go of that grief doesn't mean you're letting go of your loss. If it's someone, whether it was your loss of your child, whether it was a parent or a sibling, a spouse, family, anyone close to you, letting go of that grief doesn't mean that you're letting go of the person, and you have to stop feeling guilty for that. So that grief is going to affect your lungs, your immunity, and your energy. Shame. Now, a lot of people carry shame around, and this actually affects your gut and even your pelvis. This can actually lead to irritable bowel syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome as well, PCOS, fibroids, fertility issues. Okay, and unforgiveness, this basically shows up as chronic tension. Okay, always, you could be hunched when you're walking, sitting, you are clenched hands, shoulders are round, they're rounded forward, your jaws are always clenched, and you have high inflammation in your body, and you're very tired and fatigued, even if you've had a good night's sleep. Now, this isn't anything like mystical or anything. This is actually physiological. This is actually what happens. So it's not something that you can say, oh, this isn't true. It is. When you actually hold on to unforgiveness, your body is stuck in a loop of stress. It doesn't know how to come back to rest and repair mode. So you actually stay unwell. Not because you're cursed, okay? Because this is another thing that people, and especially I don't think it's just in the South Asian, I think it's even in the Arabian Peninsula, South Asians, and many other ethnic minorities, that that they say your family is cursed, there's always something going wrong with you, or this family is this, or I'm cursed because everything's going wrong, no matter what happens, everything I touch, all of these things. You learn this chatter that you think in your head is learnt behavior and learnt patterns that have been going on from generations. But it's time for you to take a stand and stop this with yourself, because if you have children, they're also going to learn. And if you don't have children yet and you are inshallah planning to one day, then it starts with you. At least you need to be well aware that it will affect you and your offspring if you don't change your nervous system and get healed, okay? Because it will be passed down to your children, unfortunately. That's why you have to change. Now, the shocking science of epigenetics, of how your emotions, they can change your DNA, actually. And this is where things are getting more powerful and a little shocking, okay? You see, Let me just have my coffee. Bismillah. I told you it's going to be real and raw, so yeah. So just going back, our genes, they're not just predetermined blueprints that control how your body functions. You have more power than you realize over your health, and it's all linked to your emotional state. So, in simple terms, epigenetics, just to remind you, is the study of how your environment, your experience, and yes, your emotions switch on or switch off certain genes in your body. So, what does this mean? Your emotional pain, your unresolved trauma, and yes, your unforgiveness are literally turning on genes that cause you to stay stuck in disease. It's as if your body is hearing the call to say, stay sick, and it goes switch on because your genes are locked into survival mode. And here's the kicker, this can be passed down to your children, as I've just said, okay? That is right. Your unhealed emotional wounds won't just affect you, but they can be passed down to your DNA. And, if you've been holding on to resentment, trauma, or guilt, you're not only poisoning your own body, potentially carrying the effects of your future generations. All right. And you don't have to just take my word for it. It's actually backed by science. Researchers have shown that children of trauma survivors, whether that's through war, abuse, or even emotional stress, they carry the markers of this trauma in their DNA, and it affects their health long before they even know it. Now, I know this sounds quite huge and maybe a shocker for some of you who may not even be aware of this, but subhanAllah, I know this is mind blowing. And this is why you will understand why Islam has taught us so many things of taking care of our body, especially what we say and what we think. All right. It is mind blowing when you think about it. Your health is directly impacted not just by the physical world around you, but also just by your emotional and spiritual world you live in. And do you know something? You might be thinking, right, that's it. I can't do anything about it. That, my children, they're suffering. No. You need to understand that there's good news. You know that I'm doing these podcasts and my coaching for a reason, because there's hope. Alhamdulillah, you can actually change it. Remember, I've told you that the epigenetic studies show that you can switch it on or switch it off, all right? You have that power to change it. And that's why I'm doing this, so you understand. By you healing your emotional problem with emotional issues, you can reset that genetic code to favor health, vitality, inshallah, good, healthy life. And it just starts by releasing unforgiveness, subhanAllah. Okay, the power of release. So when you start releasing the burdens that you've been carrying emotionally, physically, your body can return to its natural state of balance. Now, if it's been years, then obviously it will take a little time as well. But the fact that you start, you will notice immediate effects, inshallah. That's the beauty of it. And I'm telling you, I can talk about this with such conviction because I have overcome this and still am. So healing is lifelong. You're going to have tests. You've healed over one issue, you'll have another test, then you need to heal over that. So if someone says they're fully healed, you can't say that, because as Muslims, we know we're going to have something thrown maybe the day after. It depends on what you're like. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a test again, maybe, until you've learned that lesson as well. So you will have to heal each time. But once you know how to do it, you forgive yourself and let go. Now, you can start by maybe nourishing your body with food, but if your emotions are stuck in the past, you're actually starving the soul. So you might, if you're eating the right foods, but your thoughts and your emotions are of fear or anxiety, and you're holding on to resentment, unfortunately, that food will also become like that as well. That composition, it will have no benefit to you. If you think it will, it won't, because those people are still unhealthy and still have problems, health problems. So it is actually a full circle. You have to, it's holistic. You have to try and heal your emotions first, actually, and nourish your body with food as well, because what you eat also affects your mood. So it is all, like I always say, a full circle. You have to do all the holistic parts to help yourself, not at one go, but start with one thing and then bring into other things. And that's where I come in, where some people don't know where to start, where to begin. SubhanAllah, I can help with that. Should you ever need coaching, then inshallah, please get in touch at Emerald Health and Wellbeing on Instagram. Now, Islam and forgiveness, this is the most beautiful thing I want you to know. If you go away with anything, it's this: our deen is soaked in mercy. In Surah An-Nur 24:22, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, let them pardon and overlook. Would you not like that Allah should forgive you? This hadith recorded in Bukhari. But forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse the harm. It just means you no longer let the harm own your health. And that's what it means. The person responsible, Allah will raise the status to a higher degree and remove one of the sins. Tirmidhi. So when you forgive, you're not saying what happened is okay. Absolutely not. You're saying, I will not let this wound fester in my cells or steal my energy and poison my future. That's what you're saying. So when you're forgiving the situation, you're forgiving that years of horrible marriage maybe you were in, or a horrible situation maybe you were in your family, or something that happened in your childhood or something. You're saying that you're not going to let that, own you. That's what forgiveness means. You absolutely, in Islam, have to call out when someone is doing something wrong. You have to call that out. Okay, that's not okay. But many times, especially women who are married to narcissists, they don't know that they are even with a narcissist. That's why a lot of women end up in marriages that are longer than what a normal person would want to reside in. So it's not necessarily, the woman at fault. She doesn't even know. This is the fact. Many people don't even know. Knowledge is power, and when you understand, you realize. As long as, if you are in a situation like that right now, then find a safety net, people who can help you. There are people out there who can help you, inshallah. Make sure that if you are in this situation, that you get help professionally, subhanallah. Do get help and support professionally. So going back to suppressed emotions, the science of suppressed emotions are this: that when they're not expressed, they can become stored in your body. You will get back pain constantly, and that's basically you're carrying what isn't yours. Any gut issues is you'll have a lot of fear, maybe you'll have anxiety, lack of boundaries. That's what you're carrying, and that's why you have those problems. Again, thyroid imbalance is because you were silenced from the truth, or you never spoke out the truth. I'm not talking about you lying, the truth that you felt inside. That's what you just nodded your head and said yes when you really wanted to say no. And that could be as a child, teen, even as an adult. That's what can happen. Womb disorders. This again, you're carrying betrayal, shame, guilt, migraine, suppressed rage, overthinking maybe, and autoimmune conditions. This is the body attacking itself after feeling unseen. Every system is affected by emotional wounds, were never processed. I've got real life stories, and the names have been anonymized, but real cases. Sister Samira, she's 42, years of endometriosis, pelvic pain, no answers. Her story: abandonment, heartbreak, emotional trauma. When she began releasing stored grief through therapy and also journaling and prayer, womb healing, and nutrition, her symptoms drastically improved. Nadia, 36, thyroid condition and burnout. Always said yes, even when it broke her. Never spoke her true feelings. And through nervous system work, boundary setting, she actually began to sleep, rest, and finally feel safe in her body. Rania, 33, multiple miscarriages. Her womb was holding layers of fear, guilt, and trauma. And when she started to nourish herself spiritually, physically, and self-love, her body began to respond, subhanAllah. Where trauma hides. Your womb isn't just reproductive, it's an emotional place as well. And the womb is also, the raham as well. And, if you know Arabic, then it's from a rahma as well. So, go and do a little research on that and find out that that is also the womb area. It's meant to, have mercy and be merciful. Yeah. And if it's carrying all these emotions, then it can't do its job properly. Okay. Your gut isn't just for digestive system. It's not. It's actually your second brain. That gut instinct people talk about. Well, when you're in a situation where you're traumatized, your intuition and things, they're dampened and they don't work as well. That's why a lot of women who have been through trauma or abuse, they're very quick to get, for example, get married again to another. Perhaps you've been married to one narcissist, you will get married to another one, because your intuition and all of that, because you haven't healed and your sixth sense isn't working as well, your second brain especially, okay? The gut knows, that gut feeling, that's true. So just remember that your liver isn't just detox, it actually holds onto anger as well. Pain that isn't transformed gets transferred into illness. Now, you also need to heal with nutrition. You can't heal on a cellular level if your body is still in a state of war. Nutrition is one of the biggest tools to send your body a message of safety. Magnesium, these are the key healing nutrients. Magnesium calms and stress and supports your muscle and nerve function. Vitamin D regulates your mood and hormone function. B vitamins, they help detox and energy. Zinc, it repairs tissues, supports hormone healing. Iron and folate, especially for women recovering from trauma and monthly periods as well. Foods that say safety to your body. Leafy greens, they support your liver and blood. Dates, it's a sunnah food and it also helps support hormones. Bone broth, it is really good for gut healing, the gut lining, and it heals that. Herbal teas like chamomile, nettle, ginger, they're calming and they're good for inflammation. Seeds, they balance the hormones naturally. Now, some of you do say, it's written down, and I'm always going to kind of like repeat this. Yes, but what happened to you may have been written, but it's also your ability to rise. In Surah Al-Baqarah 286, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah does not burden a soul more than it can bear. Just remember that. Qadr doesn't mean passive suffering. This is not true. I know maybe our parents' generation and the families from back home and families here may be saying this, that this is, written for us, this is what we have to deal with, sabr, but it doesn't, this isn't what Qadr actually means. People are confused with Qadr. Qadr is something that's written, but you have what, it's also a test for you. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? We have free will. That's something people forget. You have free will. This pain has a purpose. You have a responsibility to choose healing, though. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it just means freeing yourself. You can start today. You can start by number one, write a letter to someone you haven't forgiven. I don't mean to send it, it's just for you, and then you can let it go, throw it away. So you write a letter that you forgive the thing they put you through, whatever it is, just say, I let go. You're just writing it down, I let go, and whoever's that person is, you can write to them, and then you just throw it away. You'll feel better once you've released it, by the way. You can drink warm water with lemon every morning. This can also help your liver because that's where it stores a lot of emotion, especially anger. Move your body, walk. I always say just start walking, even if it's 10 minutes. Just please start walking. It really, movement, we're not designed to stay stagnant and still. So move, walk around. Okay, dhikr after Fajr, start saying Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Shafi, Ya Shafi, Ya Shafi. Just say it. And it means, O source of peace, O healer. You're calling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then also say, I forgive because I deserve peace. I heal because I was created to thrive. Okay, you can say these positive things. So I want you to really understand this, that you can change your attitude towards your past because the past is over and done. Okay, we can't change that now, but you can change your thoughts about the past. Instead of seeing it as a punishment or blaming yourself, see it as a lesson. What did I learn from that lesson? It would be so foolish of us to punish ourselves in the present moment because of something that someone else done a long time ago or even recently. Don't blame yourself. And deep resentment patterns, just dissolve this, because don't wait until you've got a disease and then it's lifelong. Don't wait for that to change. Change now so the time for disease hasn't even got time for it to become, disease, if that makes sense. Start healing your cells now. If we choose to believe we're helpless victims and that's all hopeless, then that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to allow our lives to take place, because Allah says, I am how my servant thinks of me. in Hadith Qudsi. So if you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't heal you, you will never be healed. That's just the way the law is in this world. That's how it works. So you have to believe that there is healing, right? It's vital that we release these thoughts. You need to release the past, and you must be willing to forgive. Like I said, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to wake you up, sisters, because I believe you can turn that pain into power, because you are powerful. And I believe your illness, if you have it, is not your identity. It's not supposed to be. For example, people say she's got diabetes or she's diabetic, she is the disease. Or, you don't call someone by their disease. You're living with the disease. That doesn't mean it's you. So don't identify yourself as a disease. You're not too far gone and you're not broken beyond repair. That's the lie. That's also whispering in your mind. You're simply overdue for release. You need nourishment. You need good food. You need to understand how and what foods will help you nourish your brain, your gut, your body for transformation. And your healing begins when you choose you. And I want you to come back next week, as I'm going to go deeper into the path of healing from a place of faith, science, and deep soul wisdom. Don't forget to follow me at Emerald Health and Wellbeing on Instagram for more support and updates and anything to do with coaching and food supplements. That's also on Instagram. With love, truth, and du'as, Shugufta. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.